effect on it. Yeah, we're running at like 10%. Well, I'm not impressed. Anyway, I will be right back, and I'll get back to this. So I guess the other question, am I doing something wrong here with this texture in shipping mode? I mean, that's kind of the thing that sucks, is we can't actually only update just a section of our texture. But I should check if there's any log spam garbage going on there for that build. Nothing. I'm just also wondering why the texture was white. Because a white texture would assume that I was clearing this thing every single time. Well, let's just set this up a little bit differently. Let's just do size. Make sure there's no floating point conversion crap that's sneaking in here and messing something up. Build texture true. It's MIP index, number of regions, region source pitch, free data. Supposedly it should just work. Yeah, I don't see anything else, but let me just mess with some of these real quick. I want to see if there's something going on where we're actually initializing some data wrong in our release build, our shipping build, I should say. So if it's getting cleared, to white? White's nowhere in this. Like, we don't have white anywhere. Like, this is... Alright, so why don't we have red be this guy? This guy is going to be green. This guy will be blue. And then this guy will be yellow. Because I would not have expected writing to a texture to be this expensive. Like, there's not too much going on in the scene. I mean, like, the water shader material thing is pretty complex, but you know, I would not expect a loop over like 1024 texture to do that much. To our frame rate. I mean, it should be fine. Do all sorts of crap. So that's a 1024 size. I'm surprised we're getting... Maybe I had something wrong. $2048. That's a 2048 texture getting rendered. So 4096. I must have had something in there with the conversions. Yeah, so that's a 4096 texture there. So if we have the 512 texture, so it might actually be the setting of all these variables. Alright, so there's really no difference here if we're not rendering this thing. Which is going to be like our, we have a whole bunch of random crap in the scene here. So it's not really too surprising. Alright, well let's go ahead and make that shipping build, and the water should at least be yellow. Otherwise I've got something weird going on, or there's something in here just doesn't work when you're not in the editor. I think I read something about that. So we'll see how it goes. Alright. Yeah, it's still white. So obviously something is going on here. None of these things are supposed to be white. So there's going to be something... It's not getting initialized? Yeah, none of these are supposed to be white. Well, let's see if anything is even getting set. Let's just have it every frame set itself to this other color. and see if there's something else that's wrong, like maybe our asset loading isn't setting up something properly with our ripple texture. I don't fucking know. Or if this like create transient texture crap just doesn't even work. Like like bytes per pixel not working or something else. I don't understand. So this should be green. And this is one of those things where you're like, why doesn't this work in a shipping build? Like, these are some of the nastiest things to track down because you can't actually debug the damn thing. It's the only way to debug some of these things when they're in release mode is to just like do another build and add crap, because like log files don't even work in some of these things. I'll have to go figure out how to turn on log files for shipping builds. Stupid white textures. Let's see if there's anything else. Like if our Dashkin graphics utils calls in anything that's like with editor. Nah, something else is wrong. Well, let's see. Is there anything in here that could possibly, like, I was looking for other places in the code base that actually use this update region stuff. Because I'm looking at, like, what some of this does. Why is this? Alright, this is just commented out. Probably some bug in some of these things. And it should be, yeah. The only thing I can think of is one of these like MIP index things is screwed up. So this should be just like a 0 right here, which is what they got going on here. So maybe it should be like this. Alright, well let's try it out. Yeah, this is the stuff I don't like poking around with too much, is when you start getting into behavior that's different in a shipping build versus behavior that's different versus a non-shipping build. It can be a real pain tracking it down, especially in stuff like, you know, the dynamic texture code is the stuff I was looking at online, and I'm not super familiar with how the renderer all does everything. So I don't know what would be different at runtime for all these things. That's not what I wanted to do. I meant to minimize. And you gotta detach that debugger before you can build that cooked version. I'm trying to read if there's any other like white texture sorts of issues. I'm trying to load up a dynamically created texture on a custom actor. Currently I can create a cube. What was the relevant stuff? Is there a recommended way of checking? I have the same problem. Can you provide more details? So apparently there's some sort of stuff in here where on first tick the world may not be initialized completely, is what some people are saying. So I could be skipping over some stuff. Yeah. That makes sense to me. So it's basically like this update it may be that this update resource thing needs to be called on a couple ticks or something. Yeah, something's definitely getting called here that is not correct. Where, like, God, yeah, it's probably that there's some initialization stuff that's screwed up inside of the shipping build where things may not be available. If I load up a texture created dynamically, filled with noise so it's obvious, and set it to my material's texture property it gets to, what shows up as blank, gray, or off-white. I'm using this method from the wiki to create and update the texture. This is running at 70 FPS? What? Why are we all of a sudden running at a much higher frames per second? I cannot explain why things are the way they are. Okay, the code inside my actor's tick class that got called once they initialized texture with update texture region. If I run the function on each update, it works, which means the world wasn't initialized on the first tick. Is there a regular way of checking when one can start creating and updating textures? So it may be that the create transient or something like that is not working, so I need to mess around with. I mean, they're also calling update resource after they call update texture regions in their code. So I need to. Oh man, this is just one of those things. This is just one of those things you gotta screw around with. I mean, why can't things be easy? Why can't things just like work and be simple to use? Why is there not just a like render to my freaking texture button that then works as you would expect it to work? That's still white. Let's just create a new, entirely new texture every goddamn frame. And let's also call this down here. Oh, interesting. There's another thing I might need to do, which is add to root to prevent the object from being deleted during garbage collection. It may be that the texture is just instantly toasted. We're going to have to call remove from root. Well, we started off actually being able to do a few things, and then we quickly turned into development, compile hell, yeah, with absolutely no progress. So, yeah, welcome to the stream. This is every day in the basement. It's like a metaphor for life. You start off making some progress, then all of a sudden everything goes to hell. And you're reading the definition, the data sheet, and you're like, well, I'm supposed to be able to do this. And you're like, nah, can't, doesn't work. Like, well, shit. Now it's white? Well, at least I can now figure out why it's white. It's still white, huh? Alright, let's see if it's that update texture region or update resource getting called actually makes it screw up. Or if it's the add to root thing. So calling update resource after what? Calling update resource after calling update texture regions actually clears it. What does this update resource do? Bitey, I wouldn't trust anything that Bitey makes. He doesn't seem like the most trustworthy of fellows, so I would avoid anything that he makes. And this isn't going to work, is it? Let's just run it in shipping mode and like So the only thing I can think of is that we don't actually have a texture that gets made. So I'm trying to see if there's anything in here. I'm looking at some other people's code. There's got all this garbage going on here. This guy calls create transient, update resource, and then inside of the update he calls update 01 texture region 4 times size x 4 type data false. Well, it looks the same, like create transient, update resource. I wasn't calling echo texture update resource before updating the texture if the texture didn't exist. The texture resources aren't initialized on the gameplay, so it won't work until it's updated later by a tick. Alright, so if texture Alright, so like if mTexture equals null pointer, or mTexture resource equals null pointer, then we're just going to return. Because maybe things are screwed up there. So we can get rid of some of this code. So the other thing that might be happening is our... God, what is going on here? Like it's like the texture is... We're not actually calling the code that would render to the texture at all. So like either the texture is null or something's screwed up here that we're passing in. So I'll try a few more things and then I'm just going to start hard coding some numbers in for the width and height. And then I'm just going to throw some crash bugs in here to make sure stuff actually, we know if stuff's actually getting called or not. And I really don't like it when things are this damn touchy. Like, where it's like, if you don't get everything right, then nothing shows up. It's like, there's no good example that says, you should do it exactly this way or something. See, now this is white. So if the texture resource is null, then it's toast. Alright, so texture is null pointer is that. Alright. We basically want to say if mTexture resource equals null pointer, then we'll call update resource. So maybe there was something in here with this code where update resource was not getting called. Well, I wish I knew more about the renderer stuff, and I don't really have I haven't really messed around with the shipping builds too much. So I also am not really sure what tools I should be using to debug the shipping build. And I haven't set up anything to really mess with it too much. So I'm kind of not super equipped to actually solve this problem at the moment. So is there a way to enable logs for shipping build Unreal? How to log in shipping build. The default for shipping builds is to not print out logs for any platform, though it can be overridden to do so. Use logging in shipping needs to be defined. This can be enabled by using use logging and ship in Unreal Build tool. Alright, so there's a way. You feel sorry for me? Alright, well, you can feel sorry all you want. I will not feel sorry for myself. Alright, so I need to enable logging. I need to figure out how to turn logging on for shipping build. Generally changing to use logging shipping directly, and it is less desired, though it may be changed better. It's better to set variables in your target file, so alright, so inside of our logging target, I think this is where it's asking us to change this. Enable logging for shipping build. I think this is where this online answer is telling me that I should be able to enable all this stuff. Well, let's see if it doesn't. Alright, so speed, create a texture. Texture resource existed. Attempting to update resource. And let's just print this whole thing out, because why in the hell not? Oh, well, this might have something to do with it. This texture built equal true. Needs to only be set if we actually get this thing rolling here. Because it may be if we failed on one frame that the subsequent frame would not actually return. It would just if texture build. Well, but rebuild should be true every single time. So according to our map utils, we can build texture with true as a rebuild, so it's going to skip that. Grr. Oh yeah, Adam's kind of a jerk. Well, at least our Unreal build tool didn't just complain and explode because of the logging change stuff. We'll see if it actually works. Supposedly, the shipping build stuff throws it into app data. It's pretty funny, like these like how to log in shipping build posted in March of 2016, and like, people are like, people are a little salty about this. It's like I just wanna log. All right, so it should be building texture with size, texture resource existed. It should just spam the logs like that. Good. So let's detach and build that shipping build. So let's see, it should be in C drive, users, my user, app data local. So I should have the folder open for this. Oh, and this is compiling a whole bunch of crap, isn't it? Alright, well I'll be right back then.